Have you ever thought about crossing a major ocean to get to another continent? I don't know why, but I've always thought about like that being really cool. But also, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be able to do it just because it's like I'd get like what is it, like boat fever or like island fever, where that thing, where like that phenomenon or whatever you want to call it, where people basically freak out that they're not, or they're surrounded by water and they're not really on like solid ground. Yeah, it kind of scares me. Anyways, hello everybody, welcome to another episode of That Manga Dude and another episode of FVI, also known as the first volume impressions, where I talk about the first volume of a series or a one-shot, especially for this video in this instance. And I give my first thoughts, my first impressions, how I feel about it, and if I think it's worth picking up, and if it does a good job of being a one-shot or a first volume. So, yeah. Some updates. I believe I mentioned something on Twitter. I did a poll because I actually just reached 500 subscribers on YouTube. I think last week or 2 weeks ago. This is definitely gonna date the video, but so that's super awesome. Thank you guys so much. I think I'm gonna do a what do you call it? A giveaway. For some volume ones to celebrate 500 subscribers, and also just because first volume impressions, also known as the FVI, is probably my favorite like series of videos to do. I very much enjoy doing the other ones, but I just like being able to kind of give a review of series. I think that's really fun. It's very enjoyable for me, and hopefully it's enjoyable for you. So yeah, look forward to that. I hopefully will try to have that all set up soon, but don't give my word for that. Anyways, let's get ready with the video. Let's get started. Alright, so this particular one-shot slash one-volume series that I've picked up was originally released in Japan, 2021 by Kadokawa, and actually just recently released as of, I believe, last month. And I'm excited to show it off now, and that is See You Tomorrow at the Food Court by Shinichiro Narie. I think that's how you say their name. Yeah, so this is a yen press release, and I'm going to give you some extra information. This is translated by Co Ransom, and the lettering is by Alexis Eckerman. So thank you for doing all the hard work, for all the behind-the-scenes people. You guys deserve all the credit for bringing these series to life, especially in English. So let's get started with how I typically start, with the cover and the spine. This cover is gorgeous. It has beautiful art on the front. The coloring is done very well. I really like this kind of picture photograph that looks like they've been taken of. Just looks really nice, and I really love the font and choice for the text for the series title. And then yeah, this is really nice, and I also really like the spine as well. Has the two main characters, and then also this nice little green on the back, which also kind of spills over to the back here, which has a very bizarre picture on the back, but it makes more sense in context in terms of the story, so I won't talk about it right now. But overall, yeah, this is a really nice spine and a really nice cover, back and front. So let's jump into the characters. We have two main characters. I'm only going to talk about them two because it's easier that way. And I don't really feel like talking about some of the other random spin-off characters or one-shot characters or whatever you want to call them, because it kind of would spoil the point of the story, so you better should just read it from that way. But anyways, let's talk about our two characters here. So we have Wada, who is this rich girl. A lot of people think she's very stuck up and quiet, but in actuality, she's a huge super nerd for this one mobile game, super into it, really into gacha and all this stuff, and overall just a really funny character. She's very outgoing, talks a hell of a lot. Reminds me of myself, I'm not gonna lie, minus the gacha part, because I'm not really big into mobile game gacha games and stuff like that. So yeah, but overall she's just a really funny character. She definitely makes a lot of the jokes here, or at least a lot of the funny faces and stuff like that. So overall she's just a really fun character. I very much enjoy her, and she is the complete opposite of Yamamoto, which is this character here, the Gyaru looking character. But according to her, she doesn't act like a Gyaru. I don't really know much about Gyaru culture and all that stuff, but she basically is very much a no-nonsense kind of person, very much into sci-fi and science and urban legends and stuff like that. So she's really cool, very quiet, very stoic, talks when he's talked to, but really likes to show her feelings specifically to Wada, which is really cool. They have a really nice chemistry together. They're the perfect opposites attract, and I really like how they're written within the story, especially with each other. Their interactions feel very genuine and feel very exactly what I would expect from these two characters, and exactly how I've had kind of conversations with others, honestly. So it was kind of weird to see that and be like, whoa, I've had this kind of friendship before. But yeah, so overall, characters are awesome. Now let's get into the story. There's not really a major plot per se. Basically, these two girls just meet up at the food court every day after school, and they just talk about everything and nothing at the same time. Basically, like the Seinfeld of manga. But there's something really enjoyable about it, because like I mentioned, I felt like I had parallels between these two and then my friend group, where we just go to like a random place and just talk for hours about everything. Whether it be like something super shallow, like, oh, what movie we're watching nowadays, or like the game that we're typically playing, like whether it be Monster Hunter or whatever. Or sometimes we get into deep conversations like, what do we find important in relationships, or where do you think we go after we die? And not to say that those conversations happen within the story, but there are a nice mix of shallow and deep conversations between the two characters, and it really works really well between the two of them. I will say one thing though. There is one chapter in this manga that really threw me for a loop, and it didn't sour my opinion on the series, because I really like this. Spoiler alert. But there is one chapter that I should mention before you go into it. It's chapter 11, and they're having conversation about SH or SA, and basically one of the girls gets SA'd, and it's like the way they justify it between the characters is kind of weird. And I understand they're supposed to be high schoolers, so like high schoolers will tend to have, I don't know, not misinformed, but like opinions that may or may not be correct when you become an adult. So it definitely felt weird just reading it. It makes more sense in context, and if you're going to read it, just heads up, there is a chapter that talks about that stuff, and I don't think is done very well. But everything else is written extremely well. So I think that was just kind of like a blip, and not too worried about it. So overall, story is great. The writing is done very well. The comedic timing is actually very strong in this. I think there's a lot of parts that are just hit perfectly while you're reading through the pages. I actually busted out laughing at probably two to three times, which doesn't sound like a lot, but since this is a one-shot and it's only one volume, that's a pretty good amount. So honestly, very respectable. Really liked it. Story's great. Now, let's get into the art. Okay, into the art. Well, the cover gives it all away. The art is remarkable. And yes, like I do in every video, I always talk about the art more in depth, but that's because that's just my expertise. It's something that I studied during college, which I'm sure if you've been watching my videos for a while, you know this already, but if you're new to this, yes, I have an art degree, specifically in animation, so not necessarily comparable, but a lot of the art fundamentals were learned during that degree. So, yeah, but overall, I mean, this is remarkable. The colors are done really well, the perfect use of black and white, and being able to use, like, contrast, negative space is done really well as well. Overall, just really well done, and absolutely hilarious facial expressions. You will come to find out throughout the series. Overall, just great. There's something really perfect about how goofy some of the faces get. It's done and incorporated really well within the rest of the art, which tends to have, I wouldn't say a more realistic, but definitely a more rendered out style, and really like it. I mean, I like the character designs a lot. I think Yamamoto's hair is drawn really well. And overall, just a lot of the faces, the backgrounds are done really great. The composition is also done very well. I mean, there are so many good, solid compositions in comparison to most, or to some slice of life series. I think this does it a little bit better. Like, they could just have gone, back and forth in terms of character faces, which would have been fine, but I think it was like this perfect mix of like different angles, like for people from the back, coming from the front, them to the side, one person's face and like profile and stuff like that. So overall, just really solid mix of everything, and just I love it a lot. I mean, honestly, the art is great. I need to find, yeah, there's one. So this is a perfect example of like one of those like weird faces that just kind of fits in for some reason, because it really stands out, but it's perfect for like the comedic timing, like I mentioned during the story and the writing. It's just done very well. Also has one of the most accurate portrayals of eating spicy food I've ever seen, specifically for me, because I don't like spicy food. So bam, this is the face that I'm talking about, or at least one of them. I just think it's hilarious that this character doesn't like spicy food, but will eat it kind of like as peer pressure in a way. So I think that's really funny because, I don't know, that's kind of what I do. I really don't like spicy food, and my significant other really likes it, so it's like kind of this really hilarious contrast where we'll go to a place and she'll order something spicy, and then I'm like, oh, maybe I can like go for something spicy, and then I end up like crying and, you know, sweating everywhere. It's not good. It's not good. But I think this is done. That kind of scene is done really well. I think just like it's very relatable. I think a lot of the things that happen are really relatable. The art is just, it really complements that, and it really helps. So overall, my opinions on the series, or this volume, I guess, is, yeah, it's very good. I think it's a very solid slice of life manga. I think it's very enjoyable from beginning to end. The characters are really funny, really well written. The conversations that they have are very relatable, and I would say very normal, I guess, and that's not a bad thing. I think the best way to explain it is that it feels very realistic, I guess you could say. Like, between these two characters, talking about the future, talking about boyfriends, talking about how spicy noodles hurt them, talking about their hobbies, their lives, and yeah, jealousy, stuff like that. I don't know. It's just overall, it's a nice package. Very nice package of good art, solid story, great characters. And I would highly suggest picking this up. It is only $13 in the US and $17 in Canada. I don't know how much it is in other countries, so apologies. I'm from the U.S., so I only have so much information on that kind of stuff because I don't look it up. But yeah, I would suggest, if you like slice of life, if you like very well written comedy stories, if you like a shorter, compact read, definitely pick up See You Tomorrow at the Food Court by Shinichiro Narie. So that's gonna do it for this episode of the FVI. So if you like this video, you know what to do. You can like, comment, favorite, and subscribe. And yeah, I really appreciate it because that would be super cool. And you're super cool. Yeah, you. Where's the camera? Yeah, you. You are. You are. All of you. Yes, you. The person who's watching this or hearing this. You are awesome. You are super cool. Yeah. Now, if you didn't do any of that kind of stuff, like, comment, favorite, subscribe, you're still awesome. Because you watched a good chunk of this video, and I appreciate it, and you're super rad. So yeah, check it. I'm doing one of the shakas. Yeah, super cool, man. I'm really cool. Yikes. That was super cringe. Anyways, that's gonna do it for this video. If you have any comments about the series, just leave them down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.